right, welcome in to the Daily Fix every day, 12 Central Standard Time, right here on Foolish Club Media. I am Ron Hughley, your host. Right there in that little box is young Steve Serta, right where he rightfully belongs, as he is on the ride with us. A lot to get to today. As always, first thing, we just want to thank you. That's all, baby. We just want to thank you for taking us in, however you are. If you're on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, we appreciate you for taking us in. But what I do need you to do is tell a couple of folks we're trying to grow this puppy, as well as head to our Foolish Club Media channel on YouTube and like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe Foolish Club Media. You can get everything you need from Daily Fix to Beach Season to Brian's World, which comes out on Wednesdays, to Show and BK, and everything in between. The post game with Steve and Rocky, you get to see them just absolutely fall apart every week. It's really entertaining for me at times. So check it out. Like and subscribe, Foolish Club Media. You get everything you need there. Ain't going to hold you long. The dysfunction we saw on the field last night, I think now means Dallas needs to make a major move. I'll tell you what that major move is. And the biggest piece to Sunday's loss that we got to talk about. But before we get here, I know me and Serta are going to disagree on this. I really do. And if you give me my 2 minutes, I will express mine. And Steve, you can come in and bang whatever you want to bang, and you all listening can have your thoughts or yell at yourselves at your desk or in the car, wherever you are. But in the AFC, everybody is now talking about the Bills as not Chiefs, the team that scares. Some people said yesterday, hey.
We might have to reset this 2 minutes.
They make them nervous now. They're scared of the Chiefs now. All right, back here. I'm sorry. A lot of people, are talking about the Bills. The Bills, they got the Chiefs now. They scared the Chiefs now. That's the team that's going to scare the Chiefs now. For me, Serta, it's still the Ravens. It is still the Ravens to me, despite what Josh Allen did, despite what they did. And I think Styles makes fights for a little bit of this for me. And I know the Ravens had their fourth loss, and they have lost some bad games to the Raiders and the Browns. And that they couldn't score a touchdown, or they couldn't beat a team that didn't score a touchdown on Sunday against the Steelers. But when I look at that game on Sunday, yes, the Bills beat the Chiefs, but the Bills outside of Josh don't have like guys that just scare you, right? They converted those 3rd and 9s. I mean, if the Chiefs can get them in 6 to 7 3rd and 7s or more, I like the chances with Spags and what they have out there. Ed Oliver is good. They've got a bunch of really good players around Josh, but not as many great. The Ravens have dudes that you just can't do nothing about, right? Like Lamar, he gets going, and we saw it in the game one. You just got to hope he doesn't make the play. Derrick Henry is a guy that's a special player. Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith. Like, those are guys that are special players that can win games themselves. Zay Flowers, for what this team struggles with, is an issue. So I know a lot of people like the Bills, and they deserve what they get after they beat the Chiefs on the field. But for me, the team that makes me the most concerned is still the Ravens.
I don't disagree with you, like, as much as you were expecting me to. But I think the Ravens still have their issues. Like, their offensive line's not very good.
Oh, yeah.
Their defense is not very good this season. Like, and I think at the end of the day, too, like, we've seen Lamar struggle in the postseason when defenses put everything on the line to go out and get a win week after week. And Josh Allen has had a lot of success in the postseason. Josh Allen, we've seen him go put up those huge monster playoff performances. And it feels like we're still chasing that a little bit with Lamar. And I do think that the Bills defense is better than the Ravens defense this season. So I think it's the Bills because of what Josh Allen can do and the way Josh Allen's just so hard to stop. But the Ravens are still a good team. They're still one of the best teams in the AFC. I just think that the Chiefs have a good formula and format for slowing the Ravens down and giving them problems.
Yeah, I just like Josh to me is the one thing that you for the Bills that you just can't control. And to me, I will say this: if you like, I don't think the Chiefs played well on Sunday. That's the worst defensive effort they've had in 2 years. But Serta, if you give me everything again and you tell me, hey man, you're gonna hold these jokers to force them into 3rd and longs 7-8 times, and they pick them up 7-8 times, like you tip your cap, they pick them up. I would take that again. I would take that again. And those 3rd down conversions really helped them hold the ball 10 minutes longer. I don't think that Sean and Joe Brady are going to outcoach Andy and Spags that often. Right. And like Josh, you can't control, right? But they should have gotten off the field and could have gotten off the field. And I would bet that they do that better. The Ravens, man, yeah, they have their flaws, just like the Bills do. But boy, they got some dudes where you just holding on. You just holding on. And so for me, it is still the Ravens. All right, let's get to this. It's to me the secondary. The secondary, and we're clearly seeing it, Steve. Spags has got to make adjustments now, and we can kind of see that he I think we even saw him do it a bit in the second half, but it is clear the secondary outside of McDuffie, especially in coverage, is causing him to be handcuffed and doing what he wants to do. And now it's 2 things. One, they're going to have to adjust and do things differently. And that may mean he may not get to blitz his best blitzer in the secondary in McDuffie because you got to have him in coverage. That may mean he might have to play more. Hey, I just got to have to have a safety help my second corner and not be able to blitz or not have to be able to play up. He is just going to have to sacrifice, or they're going to have to go and get somebody off the streets to help him or off somebody's practice squad. And I talked about guys like Steven Nelson, Xavier Howard, who are still on the streets. But there's going to have to be some clear adjustments because these guys aren't playing with confidence. You can see either Johnson, Williams, whatever. There's too many times, Serta, there were 2nd and 11s, and we're 5 yards off of Matt Hollins as he's still running a 7 or 8 yard route like he has got blazing speed. And it's clear, like it is just changing how he wants to do things, right? You just got to have better coverage than he had on all-out blitzes and 0 blitzes on the back end. So I think he's going to have to adjust things. But the clear thing from a negative perspective that was alarming, I think even more alarming than the left tackle situation, because we've seen like Wyatt Morris play games like that. Like the Chiefs have been able to win, I think could have won games and still had opportunities at big plays and plays with their left tackle situation. And that's just going to be a bit of an issue. That secondary, there has got to be adjustments and changes of how they go about doing business because they just can't play the way they have in the past.
Yeah, I think it's legitimately the biggest red flag about the Chiefs right now is the secondary in the cornerback room, because felt so good about it a few weeks ago before that Jalen Watson injury, and we've seen the Chiefs' worst defensive performance have coincided with that injury and with them losing Jalen Watson in the secondary. And I think I agree, like Spags has to stop, moving McDuffie around and blitzing him and stuff like that. Like Chamari Connors had some success kind of in that role, and we know Chamari Connors not great in coverage. Okay, let him be a blitzer and play around the box, because that's what he's better at. He's not a great coverage safety, and they just have to find a way to work this out and make it more functional, because it feels like they're still trotting those guys out there, trying to do all the complicated rotations and stuff that they do in the secondary. And there's too much miscommunication, because you can't rely on Joshua Williams and Najee Johnson the same way you could Jalen Watson.
And fear of getting beat, that sort of the cushion that they were giving these Bills receivers that are not speed merchants. It was crazy to me. Like, they were picking up these easy second and third and longs just because, like, there was missed tackles and just easy balls to get to guys because they're just way off. And it was ridiculous. And maybe you're right. They are waiting and going to try to wait this thing out with Jalen Watson. What was the potential return time on him, Steve?
Last I heard, it's like they're hopeful maybe he can return for the playoffs. And that's like a maybe. It depends on how he heals up ahead of that.
Yeah, so yeah, I think they may be waiting on that. I don't know if that is the move that makes to just keep waiting and just hoping and hoping and hoping. But if that is the case, you at least have to adjust, because I think they can still win. Like the second half of the Broncos game, they just shut them out, and the passing game was different. And obviously they're going to need to have help up front. But I think they can survive. He just has to change this up. Like, you can't allow teams to dictate, hey, we're going to get our best receiver on Najee Johnson. Like, we can't, like, you just can't allow that to happen. And big plays kept coming from it. All right, last night we saw the Dallas Cowboys just get blitzed again. Steve, this is incredible. 6 consecutive home games they have trailed by 20 points. At least 20 points in 6 consecutive home games. They are 0-6 in those home games, which is just insane to me. They continue to get their asses kicked. And this one, and by the way, they were getting their asses kicked when they were full strength. They were getting their asses kicked at home by teams, even when Dak was playing. By the way, another fun stat, the New Orleans Saints have still scored more touchdowns this season than the Dallas Cowboys offense has scored this season in AT&T Stadium. That is also a crazy one to me. But I'm looking at this, and listen, we know they're going to fire the coach, but I think they've got to make a bigger move than that. And Steve, this may sound crazy. I'm looking at this yesterday, and I got to say, boy, I don't know how Dak Prescott, who appears to be the only adult in the room in that entire organization, I don't know how he deals with it. But to me, the move that makes sense is they've got to move either Parsons or CeeDee Lamb. You just can't have those two dudes as leaders together rolling through there, because there's some real give up. And I think they hold a lot of weight, and guys follow them. But you just can't have both of those dudes overriding Dak Prescott and the coach and what you need to do. And they've already signed CeeDee Lamb, and it feels like to me Parsons makes sense. I know you want to wait and maybe see if there's some growth the way like Travis Kelce had, but much like we've seen in the past, like we've watched with the Bills, we've watched Stephon Diggs moving on, and they've become a more complete and better overall team. Those two guys, both there as guys that you ain't gonna tell them what to do, and they're like leaders to themselves in the locker room. To me, it does not work having both of those dudes in there, and somebody to me has to go for this team to get better.
I do feel like it would seem insane to move Micah Parsons, because
it does. I know it does.
He's been banged up this season, and when he's healthy, he's one of the absolute best pass rushers in football. But I also think that the Cowboys probably hate that he has like a big successful podcast that he has continued to do even while being injured. And that's something that probably organizationally rubs them the wrong way. Like, I'm willing to bet they do not like that, but traditionally the Cowboys just always pay their guys. Like they have always done that. And now it's why they're blaming this season on, well, we had to pay Dak and we had to pay CD and we've had to make all of these roster situations like manageable this season. But they're bad. Like they're just a bad football team with a bad roster makeup that had a small window the last couple of years, and now it's over, and it's time to rebuild that thing, and they've got to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, but they got, they've had some injuries. And yes, they've had some injuries, but just remember, even when they weren't injured, they've got enough talent to be competitive. And I think the lack of them being competitive comes a lot from the dudes upstairs. Literally, I mean, I watched Micah and CD Lamb. There was quit all over them. Just quit. Just done. Or just over it. And you just can't have both of them. Right? You can have one of these dudes in there. You can't have two TOs. Like you just can't have two of them. And I think for them, they're not going to do it. I agree with you, sir. They're going to sign them both. They're not going to do it. But I think they like Dak is not strong enough of a leader to fight through all of that mess. I'm and Courtney.